What did I teach you?
You are look no, you're a number one.
I can't hear you.
You are the Duke of New York. You're a number one.
Peace, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Welcome to everybody that's in for the first time. I hope everybody can hear me. Is it loud and clear? You know they be messing with the feed. Honest to everybody for this continued support. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys for participating and building with us as we strive to keep our sanity in another great day in the apocalypse. As we watch the old paradigm crumble around us and as we rise to the occasion, because the cream always rises to the top. We should definitely thank you guys. Thank yourselves for the fact that despite everything that's happening in this world right now, you're in your right mind. You're in the best place that you could be, because we're actually actively the people who are actually going to see a change actually happen, while everybody is fomenting the doom and gloom of the world. This is the time we're supposed to be rejoicing. You know what I mean? Because we are finally seeing the capitulation of Babylon as it goes through its death throes. So we should all be happy about that. You know what I'm saying? Does anybody have any questions about anything before we get started? Before we jump into everything, because there's so much to kind of cram into one little space. Again, appreciate everybody who's come in, all the first timers as well as the alumni. We definitely want to give honors and respect to you. Anybody have any questions about anything before we get started? You know what I mean? Anything is good. Anything you may want to do the knowledge to before we get into it. Let me see. Thank you guys for this, support and taking time out to hang out with your boy, because there's so much disinformation, so much confusion, so much people trying to deter people from actively using their God-given common sense, you know what I mean, in lieu of the groupthink, and the fact that so many of our peoples are still caught up in, trying to advocate for immigrants and, you know what I'm saying, liberal white women who have decided that they are now the new oppressed class. So they feel like they need to be heard and they need to get on the front lines. And when they turn around and see us not there, they wondering why. Well, because you wasn't there when we was getting brutalized and murdered and beat and raped and experimented on, and you know what I mean? The list goes on and on. So, sorry, not sorry. That's basically what we're saying as it pertains to everything. So if anybody has any questions, what you do, you type it into the chat, because the reverb on this thing is so crazy that we got to keep it concise. The history of Febrata Juno. Okay, Juno is the fertility god. And as we move closer to true year, because we're still technically in 2026, the new year hasn't started until March 21st, March 22nd. You know what I'm saying? Brothers, so this is the year, or this is the month now in what they used to refer to as Black History Month, but it's now actually the month that begins Aquarius as we move into Pisces. So right now Aquarius is in Pluto for people who are into astrology. And what that means is that nothing that people want to hide or conceal is going to be hid or concealed. Anything that these people are trying to foment over you and trying to create fictitious narratives and those things, those things fall to the wayside ASAP. Everybody heard about the present color revolution in Iran, right? Everybody heard about that, right? Y'all seen it, y'all seen the limited clips they have on the internet, right? About that. Okay, for those people that don't know, the small hats, they need Iran to fall because years ago, right around 9/11, there were three small hats that had infiltrated the so-called United States government. One of them was a dude named Wolfowitz. Another dude was a guy named Rumsfeld. Another dude was a dude named Tenet, right? Like the movie Tenet. Anyway, these devils decided that they were going to foment and follow through with a bold strategy. That strategy was referred to as the plan for a new American century. Okay, it should have been the plan for the Israel century, but they use the small hats use the United States as the big dog, so that way the limited power that the small hats have in their little fake state, they can continue. So they use them as decoys. Because remember, I told you, all of these people are running this government, are running these world problems through decoys. Nobody that you see in the front of you is the person that's actually making the decisions to do stuff. Once you understand that, and you understand decoy diplomacy, you understand that everything that you're seeing is happening within what is referred to in military context as the theater. So the theater of war is what we are dealing with. We're not dealing with real world wars. There has not been a declared war since the end of what they call World War II. And that war was against us. You know what I'm saying? So what these guys are trying to do, what they wanted to do with the Plan of America Century, was that within the next 15 years, starting from the end of the Bush era, the end of Daddy Bush era, the end of the Clinton era, was established the takedown of Syria, Libya, Somalia, uh, name another one, Iraq, who else? Uh, Name another one. Libya, there you go. And basically turn these into failed states. And Syria, right? Yeah. So they had to do this in order to soften up the stakes in the so-called Middle East, so that way they could create their dream of a greater Israel. Okay. So the greater Israel, Lebanon is in there because they had softened up Lebanon when we was in school in the 80s, during the time of Beirut, right? Think of that name, Beirut, the root of the bays, right? So they had to do that in order to make sure that the last bastion that they would be able to get would be Iran. Why? Because they already softened up Iran with the fake Islam revolution over there. So what happened is, what they do is they create the enemies through insurgencies, because that's how they did us over here. And then once the enemy is created through the insurgency, they use them to destroy everything. Now, prior to this, Iran was basically like a haven. And the Shah, right, who's a direct descendant, allegedly, of the last great so-called Persian king, right, Cyrus, they was doing crazy work. Like, they had established a situation where they was basically breaking down the desert and turning Iran almost back into a paradise. They was rebuilding the temples out there. Everybody, it was more of a secular state, so women didn't have to wear paper bags and sheets and shit all over their body, right? They didn't have to It was optional. You had Christians, like the Christian population in Iran was very large. So they had to get rid of that. So when the Shah didn't want to play ball with the British, they decided that they needed to go in there and get some regime change popping. You know what I'm saying? And so when the regime change started, once they brought in the Ayatollah, right? And brought in these radical Islamicists, right? Who were basically communists. These niggas is all communists, basically. And so they brought them in there to basically foment any drive and basically set the country back for at least 30 years. In the process of that, like most puppets who get limited autonomy, those devils decided that they didn't want to listen to MI5 and MI6 anymore. They wasn't going to listen to CIA and these people anymore. That basically helped put them in power. So that then put them on the terrorist list, right? By the terrorists, who are the clandestine intelligence agencies that are all run by the so-called black nobility and report to the clandestine services, who are all Satanists, by the way. So, and Freemasons. Okay, that's why you don't want to deal with that stuff, because when you do that and you claim brotherhood and fraternity, you're actually claiming to be brothers with these people. You understand? So the most horrible people in the world have gone through the same rituals of of the entered apprentice and all of that, right? So when you do that, you are spiritually aligning yourself with the same bloodsuckers and vampire lichens that have destroyed the world up until this point. That's why you don't want to be in concert with nobody like that. You want to make sure, thank you, Queen. You want to make sure that you have the right to have your yays be your yays and your nays be your nays. Plus, us as Moors, Moorish Americans of the Moorish Empire, when our prophet came, he told us that we no longer had to be a part of any of those things for any type of goods and services, because he, our prophet, has come to take the veil off of all the secret societies on earth. And from the time that he walked the earth to now, we have discovered all of them, if not most of them. So that means you don't have to study 35 to 50 years to be what you're naturally born as. You don't have to wear an apron and then try to consign it to some ancient practice that you really have no direct connection to, because the idolatry that you've allowed yourself to become a part of has annexed you, has severed you from any of the wisdom, knowledge, wisdom, or understanding that could directly come to you through your pineal gland divinely, naturally. Now you have agreed to take your degrees of knowledge by way of another man. And our prophet told us in the Circle 7 Quran that man knows not from being told. You understand? So anybody that's doing that shit today is somebody that wants to do that. You understand? It has nothing to do with what you feel and this has nothing to do with feelings. This is what it is. Once the prophet came, there was no need for none of that shit. So anybody doing that, they want to do that. They want to be in brotherhood with these people. They want to be in situations to be hazed and raped and whatever else these niggas be doing to show and prove themselves to be men. Like in the voodoo system, like anybody talking to you as they voodoo priests and all of that, 10 chances to 1 they've taken it in the butt. You know what I'm saying? Not because I'm trying to diss respectfully. I'm just saying that that's part of the practice. You know what I'm saying? Because the only way that these disembodied entities can find a way to exist within this physical realm is they have to enter yourself corporally. So they have to travel through what Aleister Crowley referred to as the tunnels of Typhon, and that is the anus. Okay? Because they see the vagina as evil. They see women as evil. Like the pale Arabs today. You'll see these Arabs in these parties, and they'll be men and they'll be popping their asses like strippers, right? And you asking yourself, well, these are so dudes that's so into haram and all this other type of stuff. How is it that these niggas is always, yes, the bocce boy parties, right? Well, why are they allowing other men? Why are they grinding up on other men to do this? Why? Because they only see women for one thing: procreation. Anything other than that is haram, is evil to them. So boys are meant to be trained by men, and the bocce boys take the place of women, because in that, just like in Rome, because these niggas is all Romans, they're all pagan Romans, right? They believe that if they're giving it, they're the men. So this form of deviancy, right, is referred to, or used to be referred to, as pedestry. This is how the young boys was groomed in Rome to do what they was doing. They had a limited aspect of this in the Spartan culture, who were not white. None of these Spartans, none of these Greeks, none of these Persians, at the time we're talking ancient thing, was Caucasian. Excuse me, was Wight white. And they used to have a thing called the Gogi. And they used to send the boys to the Gogi. And then part of the ritualistic thing is they would go there, and as soon as the little boy goes into the Gogi, the other little boys would beat him up, would like jump him in, like in gangs. You know how you got jumped in gangs? That's an ancient Persian practice. Excuse me, an ancient Spartan practice. And then if you survive that standing, right, then you could go to the next level. If you didn't and you wind up falling, then they would take turns, doing what to you. Okay. So these things don't come out of nowhere. So all of that stuff, as you see, is sick. But this is how these disembodied entities are able to corrupt the souls of men to create these similar, psychotic practices that fracture the mind, that allows these entities to then become legion in the mind of the inhabited, and then they're able to practice this almost on autopilot. They become possessed. So getting back to Iran, so the Iranians from that point on had basically had their whole lifestyle switched. So when that happened, there was, like all situations, there was a huge refugee influx, and they brought all of them over here, and they put them into places like Hollywood and Malibu and places like that. So now today, when you see movies like, TV shows like the Shahs of Beverly Hills, you know what I'm saying? That TV show, these are the descendants of these people I'm talking about, who were kicked out and had to leave because they were gay or they were into whatever. So from that point, the Iranian constituency started to really go heavy in creating their own intelligence programs and counterintelligence programs. And so they did that to such a degree that they became the perpetual fomenter, the perpetual supporter of international terrorism all over the world. Matter of fact, they created an organization of which Obama and some of these other fake Muslims or whatever was a part of, called the Muslim Brotherhood, which is an ultra secret terrorist organization comprised mostly of Iranians and Persians and Palestinians and all of these people who are in the death cult, because it's a death cult they're in, you understand? So from that death cult, they've been able to basically ward off all of the insurgencies that the United States and everybody's been trying to put on them with sanction and all that, by also creating other alliances with other outlawed groups like the Russians, like the Chinese, like the North Koreans, like anybody that's not a part of the central banking system. You understand? So you understand what's really going on there. So based on all of that, we jump ahead now today, or last week, it looked like Iran was about to fall. Remember? On TikTok and all of that, they was really pushing this heavy narrative that Iran was about to fall. The people was burning the mosques in the street, all of that. Now, some of that was true. The problem is, the people who were doing this were all Israeli Mossad agents. You know what I'm saying? Who snuck their way in the country and have been planning long-term insurgencies against the current regime government. So it looked like they was basically about to get what they wanted, right? Everything falling. However, remember, Donnie T and the Small Hats, they want Greenland. Greenland is is a protectorate, is an independent territory, but it is protected by Denmark. So everybody thinks Denmark run Greenland. No, Denmark does not run Greenland. Greenland is a sovereign, autonomous territory that has agreed at a certain time to allow Denmark certain protectorate rights in exchange for minerals and stuff that they want to do. So, Donnie and them, they want Greenland. Why? Because they're trying to keep Russia and China from extending the Belt and Road project that they've been working on since 1982, and trying to stop that. Not to mention the fact that Greenland is a clear shot all the way up to the ice wall, and then past that into the heart of the vortex that they call the Rupus Negra. Right? There's underground portal systems there that allow you to go there. So Donnie and them want that. So Denmark, France, Germany, and Sweden has sent portions of their army to protect Greenland from Donnie and them. You understand? So in retaliation to that, they're not happy that this is happening, right? So getting back to Iran. So Iran was like, yo, it looked like, so the word on the street was the Iranians, that looked like they was going to fall. So right before that happened, it just so happened that the Danish intelligence sent a communique to the Iran counterinsurgency unit, and these niggas gave them a list of over 800 agents, Mossad, CIA agents that were working in congruent to help overthrow the government. So you know what the Iranians did? So this is right before Benny and them out of Benny Nettie out of Israel. This is right before they was about to send the Saudis over there and just really put the kibosh on the whole state, right? So the Iranians say, yo, they sent a communique directly to Trump. They didn't even say nothing to Benny and them. They cut him out the conversation. They went directly to the attack dog. They went to Donnie and said, look, if you niggas come over here and do anything, we are going to go on live. We're going to go on the live, and we have already rounded up. Denmark has provided us all of the names of all of your agents, and we have arrested all of them. And what we plan to do is execute every one of these niggas on TV starting today. You understand what that means? Because you know they put executions on the TV over there. You could go and see people murked over there, getting hung and shot and shit, right? So J Bay says, sound like a movie. Yes. But imagine now imagine all of these agents, they're all captured now. They're all arrested. They went out right away. Right before the bomb, right before they was about to tie the bow up in it, right? Said, look, we're gonna execute all of these niggas on TV, and we're gonna post it on TikTok. Donnie said, you know what? Let's slow down. Let's slow this down. We don't need to. we don't need to go that hard. It's all good. We're not. We don't need to do this today. Matter of fact, we're gonna bring all of the ships back. We're not gonna deal with that right now. You know what I mean? So y'all, we're gonna stand down. Everybody cool out, and we're gonna reassess this thing. So now they looking crazy. You understand? Because this is like the third time Iran done made the Mossad look stupid. Because a couple of months ago, Israel was saying, well, we're just going to drop a nuke on them. Iran sent them a letter saying, yeah, go do it. Do it now. But matter of fact, while you're doing that, we done compromised all of y'all niggas' cell phones. So we're gonna start to post all of Benjamin Netanyahu's text messages with his son, his mother. Everybody in the government is about to get outed. And remember, Israel, that place that they call that Israel, right, is one of the biggest safe havens for pedophiles in the world, other than like Greece, right? So this is not a good look. So the more said, got to be there, said, good, I hope they do it. Me too, but they not. They checkmated these niggas. So of course Donnie and them pulled back. So now they done pulled back. Now they talk about Ukraine again. See what I'm saying? That's how you know. Yes, Iran is part of BRICS. Also, Russia the other day just dropped the biggest bomb from space that was so fast from orbit that the United States intelligence services, as well as the D.O.D. and them, couldn't even trace it until it dropped. Okay? So that's over. What's going on with Somalia, Somaliland, Israel, the Abraham Accord? Yes, Somaliland is a puppet state. Right now, all of the African states are basically puppet states of this agenda. The only free states in Africa is Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. That's it. Everybody else is on the tape. Everybody else has let these niggas has made new agreements to allow the United States and the Western powers to come in there and do whatever they want to these people for the next 25 years. These people, Nigeria done signed this agreement. Rwanda done signed this agreement. And it's crazy because Rwanda got one of the biggest armies in the world in Africa. But when the white man tell them what they want to do, them niggas bend over and say, do what you want. And that's what has happened. So what Israel was trying to see, Israel also is getting their ass whipped by the Houthis in Yemen. Okay? The Houthis is no joke, bro. Them niggas is not playing. They kidnapping, they doing old Barbary tactics. Okay, everybody know what, do y'all know what a Corvette is? You know where the word Corvette comes from? You know what Corvettes are? I know we know it's a car, but you know what the word Corvette, where those names came from? Yes, Islam, or fast ships. Corvettes were the Barbary pirate versions of the U-boats that the Germans was using in the war. These Corvettes, these ships is so fast that but before you could get them on the radar, they already done took your ship over. And they're so fast and they're so swift that it's hard to actually label and like get trained the guns and stuff on them. And then what they do, they have these swarming techniques that they do on these battleships on them, where they're literally like just they taking massive L's from these Houthis. Okay, so the UAE and the pale Arab satanic slave states, they have been funding a lot of the insurgencies in Africa, like the Boko Haram and these types of people or whatever, as well as some of the rich, prominent Africans, like the dude that owned Manchester. He be supporting them too. So a lot of people always think it's the white people, but it's the Arabs and the dirty Africans that's working to destabilize their own countries and beat them up enough, because they have a lot of them have signed up with the 2030 project, right? So the Houthis is destroying these niggas, right? So no matter how much the United States is bombing these niggas, the Yemenis they not playing. They're not backing down and they're winning. So what Israel does, like all so-called small hat insurgencies, they go into your country, and what they do is they foment discord to the point that they start to try to get people to want to break away and splinter their country into two. They did it over here back in the days in the war with the North and the South. Okay? So they always break your countries up between the northern and the southern region. So Somaliland, right? The small hats then said that they want to recognize them, Somaliland, which is then fomenting discord within the failed state Somali government. The reason why they had to break the Somali government was because they didn't have anywhere to dump their nuclear waste back in the 80s when they started getting rid of the after Chernobyl and stuff like that. So what they did was they sent CIA in there to help get them people to destroy their own country, so that way they could start dumping nuclear waste off the shores of Somalia. So this was destroying the fishermen and all of that way of life. And because the government was with it, in the pocket of these devils, the Somali men, right, like any man would do, got together and started to do piracy. And they was making bread. They really making it happen. Okay. These brothers with these ships, these little ships, was the corvettes, was out there making it happen, seizing huge oil tankers and gold tankers, and all of the shit that they was looting out of Africa and taking. The Somali pirates was taken from them. So the Houthis was helping them do that. You understand? So Israel, at the same time, the Houthis be bombing Israel every day, like. So they need a beachhead in Somalia, which is close to Yemen, right? But they can't do that because the Somali government said, no, you can't do that. So they want to break the Somalian government, right? And then foster support in a puppet state that they'll call Somaliland. You see what I'm saying? This is the same tactic that the Italians did with the Eritreans back in the Ethiopian Italian War. Okay, so the Somaliland dudes is like, cool, we with it, let's do it. But the Somali government, who was with it at first, all of a sudden last week was like, nah, we can't afford that to happen, because they know if they do that, Israel, who is the puppet master to Somaliland, is eventually going to take control of all Somalia, which then will give them a deeper base in Africa. You understand? So they can't afford that. So that's why they've gone the route that they've gone. So that's what Somaliland. So that's not going to happen. They done torpedoed that. So this is like 3 things in 1 week that just went to hell on them. They taking L's. They taking massive losses. All right. Also, people are leaving that place that they call Israel, right, in droves. And I'm talking about the Ashkenazim Israelis. They don't want to be held hostage by these maniacs anymore. And so they are expatriating themselves. So what this is doing, this is reducing the IDF's ability, right, to then further control Gaza. You understand? Because the soldiers is defecting. Now you have to understand, most of the soldiers in the IDF are not even Jewish. They don't even believe in God. They're mostly atheists. They're like 70% atheists. Just like the niggas that founded the state, Charles Herzl and them niggas was straight atheists, but they wanted to establish a state where their people could worship God. It's crazy. It's crazy. They're crazy. So this is what they're doing. You understand what I'm saying? So this is happening regardless. So they can't afford it, right? So the money running out. So they got to do other things. So now they're trying to expand. So now last week, they got caught in Patagonia burning up the rainforest. Why? Because the small hats in insurgency in the Patagonia, Argentinian government said, well, any land that catches on fire can be sold. The day after they puppets in the government said that, the fires broke out. Right? So now they're coming over there to take their land, right? But at the same time, me personally, I'm like, sorry, not sorry, because it was the Argentinians who did the same thing to the Moors who was there during the Uruguay and Paraguay War. Argentina when it was Patagonia, was full of Moors. The majority. These dirty, mestizo, German Ashkenaz started an insurgency there, created a fake war between Uruguay, put all of the melanated men at the front lines, and then while they was on the front lines fighting the Uruguayans, who were the other melanated people, the white ones that was behind them started killing everybody. Killed all the melanated people. There's nobody more racist than Argentinians. But see, they quiet racist. They made laws after that to not talk about it. We gonna keep that on the wrap. We don't really talk about all of that. So Argentinians, they look nice, they look cool and all that. Them niggas is racist as most everybody else. That's why after the war, the paperclip, where all the Nazis go. They went to Argentina. They went to Brazil, right? Did y'all ever see the movie The Boys in Brazil? Did y'all ever see that movie? That might as well been a documentary. Because that's what happened. Matter of fact, they just came out. I did put it in a video a couple months ago where they came out and showed the pictures of Hitler, the white Hitler alive there. He got out, just like we said he got out. But when we said that, they said, oh, that's pseudo information. That's not real. Now it then came out. Now it came out. Not only did the nigga get out, but the nigga got out and was traveling back and forth between them and Camp David. So remember when they would say the president is going to Camp David for the retreat and all of that? They was going to meet this nigga. When they would flying up to Camp David, and then he would go back down. And then he died peacefully. This is the white Hitler, though. We're not talking about the real black one and them that went up into the Antarctic and all that. With the Thule Society, the real Thule Society and all that. So these is documented facts. They knew Puppet, right? He done plunged the whole country into debt so that way the small hats could come over there and colonize and do what they doing to them people. But that's what they did to our ancestors, to our brothers and them, our cousins and them down there. So to hell with them. You know what I'm saying? Now is the time everybody getting the karma they deserve, okay? This is just what it is. So everybody is now basically being put on Front Street because what's happening now also in Europe, in UK is about to collapse. The UK is in such dire straits that their army count is a little less than 75,000. You hear what I'm telling you? The UK army is down to about 75,000 people. You know how many people Russia got and is in the standing Russian army right now? 1.5 million. Russia about to own Europe. But real talk, that's what I think Donnie want. Donnie low-key helping this nigga. Wipe them niggas out. Because Starmer and all of them is under the jurisdiction of the small hats. So they down to 75,000 people. So you know what they doing? Excuse me, this is the first time I'm eating today. So you know what they doing? They talking about setting up the conscription instead of it being the mandatory like 18 and like 25. Homie, they are drastically bringing it up where they talking about they gonna start drafting 15 to 20. No, they trying to draft niggas from 25 to 60. They trying to bring niggas out of retirement. They trying to bring 60-year-old niggas into the army to fight these Russians. Do you understand that the Russian niggas be training with bears? You know Russians, please mute your mic, please. Everybody make sure your joint is muted. Do you know that these Russians be wrestling bears, yo? I be seeing it. They be working out with straight grizzly bears. And you gonna send 60-year-old niggas out of retirement to fight these people? Well, this is because they want to basically destroy all of Europe. They want to destroy it because the small hats want it. So Ukraine already is basically over. They done basically destroyed it. And what does the Ukrainian do? The Azov Battalion, who are Nazis. Don't let them fool you. The Nazi insurgencies that left and went back into Europe in the 80s under the auspices of going to fight the Balkan Wars, them niggas was descended from those white Nazis that was able to get out. And they sent them back over there. Zelensky and all them niggas. And what are they doing? They organ harvesting their own soldiers. These are facts. This is international genocide on a catastrophic level. The Ukrainian people is basically done. Why? Because remember, if the small hats stay in the Middle East fall, where they gonna go? They're gonna bring them back to Ukraine because that's their ancestral homeland. That's where them niggas is from anyway. So they creating an exit strategy by getting rid of all of the ethnic Christians and Muslims that's already there, who don't want anything to do with the conflict. At the same time, they're burning up the rainforest in Patagonia so that way they could buy the land for cheap. At the same time, they're trying to move into trying to go back into China, but China ain't letting them over there. China got kill orders on them niggas on site. On site. China is not even playing. China said if we catch any Israeli Mossad agents, whether they look Chinese or not, because you know there's a lot of Chinese Jews over there, you know. Did you know that? Did you know Lee is a Chinese Jew name? You ain't know that. They call them Chews. You think I'm playing? I'm keeping it 100 with you. That's what they call them. They call them Jews, bro. Yeah. And they done caught some of them, and they done straight shot, they done killed. They don't give them no trial, no nothing. They kill them on site. On site. China not playing. They not playing with these niggas, bro. So the whole world is turning on them. And this is what they want. They want the whole world to turn on them so everybody in the world goes at them at the same time so that way they can exercise their Samson option, right? Which is allegedly the nuclear bomb thing that they want to that they've been threatening to drop on niggas for the past since the state been in existence, right? So that way they can bring about the second coming of their Messiah, who is the devil. Then with all of this, right? This nigga Netanyahu came out and said that their new goal is to protect Christians worldwide. These niggas is wild. The small hats are the people that we talking about. The ones that wear the little kippahs on their head. We don't want to keep using the J word because you know their algorithm is racist. So we call them, you know, small hats. That's what my uncle used to call them. So, you know what I mean? Like I grew up around these niggas. Like I grew up. These niggas would come to my grandmother's house in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. I was there when I grew up. It was nothing but melanated people. We own all of the houses, all in Crown Heights, from President Street all the way up to Linden, all the way down to Flatbush. We own all them houses. Them niggas used to come to our house every day, almost every other week, asking to buy our crib. Asking my grandmother to buy the house from her for cash and all that. At one point, she used to pull the hose out on them niggas and spray them niggas with the water. Oh, those was the days. Those was the days, bro. So that's what they used to do. Matter of fact, they used to do rituals and shit where they used to ask us to come into their crib on Fridays and turn on their lights and shit because they couldn't touch no technology. And you know, we was mad back in the days, we was mad nosy, so we would run up in their crib early. But look at the ritual. They would need the melanated people to come and turn lights on in their house. Look at the ritual. Look at what they was telling us without telling us. You understand? So at the same time now, in New York, right? In New York, your boy Mandani, the communist, Mandami the commie, this nigga is getting a pushback because he's being supported by one half of the small hat community out there. But they beef. There's a heavy beef between, like the Crips and the Bloods. There's beef between them, between the Setmars and the Lubavitch. I lived in the Lubavitch neighborhood in Crown Heights. In Williamsburg is where the Setmars at. The Setmars, all of them don't really rock with Israel. Like, they don't really rock with the state like that. You understand? And so they have their own police forces and stuff. And, they communities, they have one of the highest rates, both of them, both sides of communities. They got the highest rate of incest, the highest rate of child molestation, the highest rate of domestic violence, crib death, because the Moyles, when they be doing the bat mitzvah ceremony where they suck on the little baby penises, these niggas be having herpes and stuff, and they be passing that on to the little babies and shit. The babies be dying. But then what happens is they do the private funerals, and then they take the baby bodies and they be doing rituals on them in the holes in the ground. They be doing the sex rituals with the dead bodies, allegedly. Okay, doing the sex rituals allegedly in the holes in the ground. Remember a couple of months ago when the police came up in there and then niggas was coming out of the holes in the ground and they pulled out the mattress with all the blood and shit on it. Remember that? Yeah, they got tunnels. So they be having straight, like in the Warriors, where them niggas would like meet, and then they would like, the gangs would meet and they would get with the thing, and then they would say, okay, guns or knives or this or that. Then they would meet and fight. That's what they be doing underground with each other. Like, they'll kidnap, like one group will kidnap the other, beat them up, rape them, cut they curls off and shit. throw them in the van, throw them in the street. This is the type of shit they be doing, bro. But we don't know. And what's crazy is that they're all subsidized by welfare, right? So they got time to do all of this bullshit, right? So all of this is being exposed. All of this is coming out. They're defecting. They have underground railroad for people who are trying to get out of those communities. Meanwhile, Russia done banned the Church of Satan in Russia. Russia done banned LGBTQ people from adopting children. Russia done banned any type of small hat businesses that practice usury. So what's going to happen soon? I saw this sister, she be a prophetess or whatever, and she was like, soon what's going to happen is all of the European nations is going to defect, and they're going to fall under what they're going to call the Russian protectorate. So United States, you know what they're going to try to do? They're going to try to set up a draft or some shit here to get you niggas to go over there and fight for them. But that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. Because everybody know what the deal is now. Remember when they was doing that in Vietnam? Did that work out for them? Did that work out for them in Vietnam? No, it didn't. It went horrible for them. Horrible. They lost Vietnam War. Don't let them niggas fool you. They lost the war. That's why they had to start making all of them movies to make you think they won the shit. No, they lost horribly. And you know what? Vietnam is a paradise now. The Vietnamese is living like kings over there right now. Right now. So it's not looking good. This whole thing, they think it ain't gonna be what my grandmother used to say. She said it's gonna be a cake. It ain't gonna be a cakewalk in the morning. It ain't gonna work out how they think. You know what I'm saying? So they pulling out all the stops. They're getting all the boulets. They're getting the fake Black Panthers. Getting the fake Black Panthers out there. Right? Getting the fake Black Panthers out there, getting you ready, getting it ready. so that way you could want to go out there and get clapped out like Renee Good, right? So another video, brother said, look, if she had a husband instead of a lesbian wife, the husband would have told that bitch to sit down. Go home with the children. What are you doing? This has nothing to do with you. But now, and then guess what? The pig that clapped her, he a millionaire now. He's a millionaire. His GoFundMe is cracking. He don't gotta shoot. He don't gotta ice no more. Them white people flooded his GoFundMe with bread. Yup. So you know what that means? Now the other ICE niggas is looking at it like, yo, if he got that for shooting one white woman, white liberal, imagine what I could get. Like, you understand what you're dealing with? You understand what you're dealing with? Now remember, all the ICE niggas, all the DHS, they all trained by the small hats in the state. They all send them over there to get trained. But have you noticed? When the last time you heard a black man get shot by the police? Have you noticed that? Have you heard one? I don't mean the fake propaganda shit. I mean the real one. When the last time you heard that? When the DNC was in charge, you was getting one of them niggas murked every week, right? When the last time you heard one of these brothers getting murked out here? At the same time this happening, your boy Donnie, the racist Donnie, he done put $650 million into HBCUs. You heard me, right? So I'm telling you, bro, I think this Gemini is playing both sides. This nigga's crazy. Yes, indeed, sister. Sister Kimberly said, yeah, we went through the whole Jason months without one. Exactly. And now because of that, they want us to go on the street now, on the offensive and help these niggas. So they got the fake light-skinned Black Panther nigga who, right before this, he was a blood. Matter of fact, I know the brother reached out on one of my friends on Facebook, say, yo, I think that's my cousin. I think that's my cousin, but he adopted. So he not even, so we don't know who this nigga is. We don't know who this nigga is. Then he sent me another picture of the nigga when he was a blood. I'm like, so okay, so you was a blood gang member. Now you leading the Black Panthers? Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., peace to the party, he said, nigga, these niggas don't got nothing to do with us. The official chairman of the new Black Panther Party said, we don't have nothing to do with that, and this whole thing is not our fight. Where was these immigrants at? Where was these white liberal women at when Tim R. Rice and all of the rest of these niggas was killed? Where was any of them at? Nowhere. So guess where we at? Nowhere. Nowhere. It's over. They all about to go back to the caves, and they think that they controlling this thing, but they not. I'm telling you. Nobody, the real truth is nobody is in control. One of the biggest lies the white man ever said was that he run everything. He don't run nothing. He get ran. And his handlers, they about to start getting run now. Okay? So big up to brother Tram. He had posted this. I wanted to show you how it's moving. How they moving it all. He did this graph, I think it was him. So I want to give him respect for this. I didn't create this image on the left. Okay? This was going on, fam. They all about to get routed. So after the fall of Andalus and Valencia and all of that, the Moors got pushed back in the Battle of Poitiers, right? And after the Battle of Poitiers, all of the Moors that was going to still stay in Europe, they got fractured. And so they went into other places like southern France and all of that. And then the Slavic regions, they started producing more of them out the caves. So then these Moors who were the Huguenots, who were still fighting a good fight, they wound up being pushed out and wound up having to come back over here. Those Huguenot generations, that Huguenot generation, well, it was like 15 million of them. These was all Moors. So they were able to come back because they were the ones that was able to come back were the ones that could prove that they wasn't amalgamated. Because remember, when the fallen Moors got kicked out and decided to turn coat and started to build up their army with the dog Spaniards, right? With the Spaniard dogs, they were now public enemy number one with all of the rest of the Moors everywhere else. So we wasn't having them. They wasn't able to come back home. So what they started to do, like I said, they started to work the decoy system. They started to send the war dogs over here to then try to fight us to do that. So now what's happening is it's happening now in reverse. It's now happening to them. You understand? So when we say who's responsible for everything, it's these people. Not because we're racist, not because we don't like people, because it's the truth. They created it. They fomented it because I told you the goal is to bring the second coming quicker. They believe that their goal is to bring their God, the true and living God, the ultimate true creator that is beyond all reproach. Their goal is to open up the firmament to bring it down here so that way they can put their false God, you heard me? Their false God on its throne and then rule with it there. You understand? This is their this is what they have prophesied. This is what they believe. So they need to be as evil and destructive as possible. This is their religion. This is what they believe. This is not me. This is not me hating them. This is not me any of that. This is me telling you this is what they believe. Okay? And so this is what they're working towards. Okay? Okay? This is what they believe. This is what they have worked for generations to see happen. So we, the Goy, right? That's what they call us, right? We're the Goy. They believe that they have the right and that we will all serve them and that their goal is to destroy all of us because we are meant to be their slaves. That's what they believe, okay? That's their religion. So anybody that's not with that is anti-Semitic. You understand? So when they say they are trying to protect all of the Christians in the world, really what they're saying is they're trying to protect them from life. You get it? You understand? This is what they're saying. So everybody has the right to believe what they want to believe. See? That's the difference between me and everybody else. If that's what you believe, then you have the right to believe that. That don't mean that it's going to happen. That don't mean that it's true. That just means that that's what you believe. And as an American, you have the right to believe and say what you want to say and do. You understand? You can't just pick and choose what truth you want to hear, what freedom you want to protect over the other. If we're going to be free, we're going to be free all the way. You understand? And you and I have to be strong enough, have the resilient and the power, right? And the inner fortitude to know that if that's what they believe and I don't, then I'm the good guy, they're the bad guys. That's why we have to support what they believe so that way we can delineate the belief from the truth. Islam, you got it? Look, this is in his office. This right here on the left side is a trophy. This is the very first COVID jab created. And in Hebrew, this is on his desk. And in Hebrew, you know what it says? It says, "This is our greatest achievement." Are you sick yet? Hold the vomit down. Hold it, hold it down. Hold it down. Hold it down. So remember, we from when before they even came up with it, we been knew who, what, and all of this was about. We know who Pharmacia is. We know that all of these corporations that deal with pharmaceuticals or whatever are satanic. Do you understand that almost every product that's sold to you in America has poison in it and is trying to kill you? Do you know that women who are getting BBLs now, they are extracting the BBL fluid from dead bodies? It is coming out of dead bodies. The weaves that you are wearing is coming off of dead people and out of the sewer. Google it. You think that's going to stop females from getting BBLs? You think that's going to stop them from getting weaves? So at this stage, I say don't stop. Keep getting them. Keep doing it. Keep doing it at this point. Just whatever. If you don't care, why should I? What do Yeshua say? Render unto Caesar what is Caesar. What is the legal definition of the word render in a Black's Law Dictionary? Anybody know? Anybody know? It means to officially declare, pronounce. It also means to judge. And it also means to deliver justice. It also means to fulfill a duty. Okay? This is what I'm saying, Moss. This is what you're dealing with. So remember when this nigga was on TV and he was taking the jab? Y'all remember that? Wait, let me show you. Oh, it's great. It's great. I ain't even mad at this nigga, yo. I think this type of evil should be applauded. It should be studied. We should really, really like do the knowledge that this type of evil is so evil that it's beyond any type of comic book villain science fiction thing that you could ever learn. Look at the smile on his face. He know. He know. He know. He like, yo. He was like, yo, we about to kill so many people with this shit. And they think I'm giving it to myself. He ain't taking it. You know what I'm saying? He know. Look at his face. Look at his face. He know. He like, yo, we gonna get so many souls. We giving so many souls up to loose food with this shit. I'm gonna be able to just ball out for years, man. This is great. Yo, like I'm saying, man, this type of evil, it really needs to be studied, man. It really, you got to respect it. That's the only way you're going to be able to survive it. You cannot just be so emotional and caught up like, yo, this is going to happen to me. No, this is not going to happen to you. None of this is why the more we talk about it like this, the less likely it is to happen. That's how it works. Why you think they inundate you every day with so much BS and fear? Because they need you to believe it. Because only if you believe it can it be true. But to believe something is not to know something. Because once you know something, you no longer believe it. Islam? It's that simple. It's basic psychology. They're trying to give you a post-hypnotic suggestion. And if you fall for it, then it's on you. Look at this nigga. He having the time of his life. Millions dead. He cool with it. Because they are so crazy. They have religious practices where they cut up a chicken, cut up a goat, lead it away, put all of their sins on it. Now they can lie to you and everybody else for years and years, and they believe that they shirking the karmic responsibility, that they fooling God. This is how crazy they are. Why you think Yeshua was so apeshit with these niggas? Why they hate him? Why they hated him so much? All of these people you see on the right, all of these amalgamators you see on the right, these is the real devils. This nigga Don Lemon said the greatest threat to America is white supremacy. Nigga, you smoke white cock every day. Every day. This chick, Elon Omar, went and married her brother to get into the country. And then when it got hot, only when it got hot, she divorced him and then married a white man. Then went up and said, what? White supremacy is the worst thing in the world. Same thing, Ketanji Brown Jackson, this brain dead African, they asked her on the congressional floor. They say, yo, what is a woman? She said, well, I can't answer that. I don't really know how to answer. What? This bitch is, and then they put this bitch on the Supreme Court. Kamala Harris, she got all of the brain dead boule, gay boule chapter houses to back her up because she went and pledged Howard, right? This is a Canadian Indian from Guyana whose family allegedly owned enslaved POW Moors, married to a white man named Emhoff, who had sex with his maid after beating his Jewish wife. All these people going to be in the blender. All of them. Then you got Lori Lightfoot. She an actual American Indian. Undeclared Moor. She now married a white woman. And these are the people who speak for you and me? No. Asonia Cortez, this dog chick, right? Descended from the dogs, mestizo, descended from the dog people. She talk about white people like dogs. Meanwhile, this is her husband. So again, I say to y'all, stop giving these people rental space in your mind. Stop it. It is a scam. It's all a scam. None of it is real. See, is real. None of it. They're all on the take. They are all descendants of the dog people that we talked about last week. Matter of fact, after we did that video on Donnie Debo and all of that and the dog people, guess what your boy Trump did at Mar-a-Lago? You can't make this up, bro. You can't. This how I know we on point. This how I know he backing up aspects of what we talking about. Did you know that he had a dog ball at Mar-a-Lago? He had a ball at Mar-a-Lago where they all dressed up like dogs. The week after my video, big up to the Duchess of York. Subscribe to her page. Here they go. Here they go. He said you probably listen on the call now. I hope so. Break that bread, Donnie. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm from New York too, homie. You know what it is. Look. The week after, they did this at Mar-a-Lago out here. Have y'all ever heard of the Mestizo Revolution? No. The Mestizo Revolution refers to a single event more than a rise and eventual dominance of mixed race Mestizo people in Mexico's national identity and politics, particularly after the Mexican Revolution. So when we freed the whole country, right? Where everybody could be equal and free. You know what the light-skinned Mestizo dirty Spaniards did? You know what they did? You know what they did? They rebelled against us and then overthrew us, where the Mestizos emerged as the national heroes, transforming from a marginalized group into a symbolic bedrock of Mexico's unified identity. The process called mestizaje. This ideological project consolidated Mestizo power, creating a national narrative, embraced racial mixture to forge unity after centuries of colonial caste. So we broke the caste system to free everybody, and the Mestizos came, rebelled against us, and reinstated the caste system with them on top. Then they started talking that La Raza shit, the race shit. Why? Because they're ashamed of their dog heritage. That's why. That's why. And so again, a week after we dropped this whole thing about them, where they come from, the Carianos, right? The Canarios, the Puerto Ricanos, right? Created off of the shores of Africa, not Puerto Rico and America, but Puerto Rico and Africa. The wetback dog paddling all the way here, right? The ones who always telling you that you come from a monkey and you do this and you do that, right? The racist ones, the ones that hide they hairy abuelos and all of that. And try to hide the dark-skinned people in the family who they enslaved, right? And try to bleach out so that way they can inbreed with each other to stay light-skinned. Niggas like John Leguizamo, niggas like Michelle Rodriguez. I even saw a movie, an interview with Michelle Rodriguez where she admitted that they did that. The actress from Fast and Furious. So all of this is facts. So again, Donnie just co-signed the whole tape. Yes, the canis, the cephalid, this, how do you pronounce it? The cephality. Wait, let me show you. Here they go. They made patron saints out of these niggas. Okay? And these are the people that these melanated people be trying to have babies and shit with. These the people. All them divestors and them swirlers. Didn't they tell you that syphilis come from dogs? Oh, you just think it was like, oh, they were just having sex with a dog. No, they were the dogs. They were the dogs of war. And now they celebrating because the truth is out. They don't gotta hide no more. They like the gays. They out the closet. They out the closet, Morris. He said the dog day. Gotta be there, said the dog days of summer. Yes. Be proud. That's all I'm saying. Be proud. This is your ancestry. This is your people. This is who you come from. They celebrate and look. They all why they wear dog masks? Why of everything? Why do that? Gotta be yourself horrific. Yes, it is. But it's also, I'm glad. I'm happy for them. We should be happy for them. We should be happy. We are helping them embrace their heritage. You understand? This is a good thing. This is a good thing for humanity. We are allowing them to be themselves because they've been in denial for so long. And of course, the Moors had to be the ones to come and reveal the truth because we're the ones who unfortunately help domesticate them and bring them into a semi-mankind sort of way. The Cephalic Pali refers to the cynocephaly, the mythical dog-headed people found in the legends of where? Africa, India, Greece, and China. Wait, how Donnie say it? China. Right? China. Yeah. Because the Chinese, them niggas is part of this too. The Japanese, them people that's in Japan running Japan, they ain't the real Japanese. The real Japanese is the Jomon people, the Ainu people, the melanated people. All of them people that you see as phenotypical Japanese today, they all Koreans. All the niggas come from Korea or China. You understand? You understand? Why you think you remember the show The Dog Whisperer with your boy Caesar? Remember Caesar? Isn't it funny that his name is Caesar? And then the head monkey from Planet of the Apes name was Caesar? And nobody could talk to dogs like Caesar. Have you ever watched The Dog Whisperer? It's like that nigga speak dog. It's like he but you understand what I'm saying? You see why? You understand? This is not racism. This is not hatred. Do I sound like I hate these people? Do I sound upset? Do I sound like no? I am genuinely happy for them. Everyone deserves to know their culture. Everyone deserves to know where they come from. Our prophet said all must stand under their own vine and fig tree. Didn't he say that? Yes, he did. So we are doing God's work. So we're doing the Lord's work. Yes, yes. Now we know why. Yes. So we always comparing them to monkeys. It ain't just that. The Sasquatch, the Wendigo, the Yeti, the Lycans, the Wolfman. This is their culture. This is their culture. This is where they come from. This is where they come from. Origin. The term comes from the Greek word dog. Right? Which is kion. And head. Kephalos. Appearance. Human bodies with the heads of dogs and jackals. Cultural presence. Featured in the myths of where? Egypt and Greece. Where in Egypt they referred to them as the Tamahu. Remember Anubis? See? Any bipedal organism that is full of fur, whether it be whatever it is this. So the Wendigos, the Sasquatch, that's what they are. The Sasquatch is American. The Wendigo is like Navajo or something. Another name for them is the Woodwose. I've done other videos on that. I've showed you them. Wendigo, Woodwose, Yeti, Sasquatch, Lycan, Kapali. These are all the same people. Why you think they beasts? They all descend then from the Neander. The Neanders used to eat humans. That's why we had to wipe them out. They used to eat the human babies, kidnap them, and eat them down to the bone, and then break the bones open and suck the marrow out. That's what they used to do to humans. Look it up. Look it up. Why you think they let the dog sleep with them in the bed? Why you think they let the dog eat with them off the same spoon, off the plate? Why you think when we was enslaved POWs, the dog could have free reign of the house, sleep everywhere, whatever, but we had to sleep outside like animals? Why you think they did this? Just because they just like dogs better? No. The dog was the only thing in the caves that was closest to them in genealogy that could help them fend off us. Have sex with them, all of that. Because the melanated people you see getting down with that are the ones genetically who we can trace all the way back, probably. That was the ones that allowed them to give up aspects of their DNA to help upgrade them. So they are more like them than us. I told you, those of us fell, and those that fell could no longer come back. So the longer they was away from the true source of God, the more they fell from their noble nature and became like that of beasts. So you mean to tell me these people build pyramids? That's what y'all think? You mean to tell me these so-called Tartarian builders, these niggas made it? That's what you think? That's what you believe? These niggas how could they look up at the pyramid when they couldn't even raise their head to the sky? Think, Morse. Stop believing the hype, man. They're all scamming. It's not real. They're not who they have said they are. I'm showing you who and what they are. This is their culture. This has nothing to do with race or hate or anything. How could I be racist against these people? How could I have some sort of ill will against these people other than when they try to, ramrod and be crazy and shit with us? How could I? That's like you being offended that the dog bit you. It's a dog. You understand? Think about it. Yes, laying with the Tamahu technically is bestiality. I would say so. I would say so. I would agree with that. But hey, who am I? I'm just some dude doing videos on YouTube. Doing pseudo videos on YouTube. You understand? How could I be intimidated by something like this? How could I in any way feel inferior by anything like this? Do you understand? It's over. There's no way I could ever feel anything other than pity or like what do you call extreme maybe disgust, maybe that. You know what I'm saying? I might feel some disgust, but other than that, these people don't have they're not a threat, bro. Not anymore. Because the veils have been taken off of the secret society. This is a secret society. And we have unveiled it. We have shown and proved that it don't exist. It is all there to hide their inferiority. We should rejoice. We should feel happy. I do. I do. This is great. This means generations from now, anytime these niggas start talking anything, all you gotta do is pop in the tape. Anytime you feel bad about yourself, anytime you feel like, damn, why is it so hard for black people, blah, blah, just pop in the tape, man. I bet you by the end of it, you'll feel great. You'll feel like, yo, I can do anything. If I can civilize this thing, if I can civilize these things to the point where they run in the world, imagine what I could do without them. Look at the bright side. And that's how you turn a frown upside down. Yep. 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 I don't know what else we could say about this. So I think we're going to move on to the next part. So the way that we know, why do we know that COVID and stuff like that was a scam? Why do we know that that was a thing? Why do we know that that wasn't something that we should do? Anybody? What happened to us as a people that we knew if these niggas is talking about injecting yourself with something, that's not something we need to do? Why do we think that? Is there anything that happened to us in the past 150 years, maybe, that that gave us an inkling that this might not be the right thing to do for us as a people? Anybody? Here we go. That's right, Jay. The Tuskegee experiment. And you know who was the main proponent and operator of that experiment? This piece of shit right here. Excuse my French. Sorry, y'all. I really be trying not to. But the more I'm seeing this stuff, the more I feel like my great grandmother's spirit be coming out of me, man. Cause she was just like this devil. This is Eunice. This is Eunice. This is Yakub's nurse. See her standing with her people? Remember I told you the decoys? Didn't I tell you about the decoys? So we always talk about the white people who did the experiment, but we never talk about this trash right here. Do we? No. They never did a movie about her, did they? No. No. Don't she look like Oprah? She do. It's probably her grandmother. Yeah, see that? U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Once they got devils like this to adopt the welfare system, then what happened? They put them into an educational system, right? Which was the forced busing that they put them through, right? Then after that, now they was able to now take control of the health of our people. And this is the devil that made sure she kept the meticulous records of how much she injected poison into her people in her community. This devil, this black devil, you need to find her descendants, make sure they ain't doing the same shit. Because they probably out here continuing this devil's work. Moors need to find this chick. You know what? Let me not say that, because then it'll be like, oh, you inciting hate, and I don't want to do that. Yes, the Tuskegee experiment, and this is the devil that helped them do it. The Tuskegee experiment study of the untreated syphilis in the Negro male, informally referred to as the Tuskegee experiment. So there was two types of Tuskegee experiments, if you didn't know. They had the academic side, where you had those Moors who were smart, who were under the Roosevelt program, aka Booker T. Washington program, who were giving their talented 10th energy to the atomic bomb program, because the atomic bomb was created was perfected by the melanated people. And then their studies, their findings were then sent to them niggas in Oppenheimer and them niggas in Los Alamos. And then they did it because the white people in Los Alamos wasn't smart enough to be able to do it. So, of course, they had to get the original people who descend from the people who first created nuclear energy historically to do it. Black nurses, notably Nurse Eunice, like eugenics. You see how they ritualistically put you in there? Look, you nice. What did I tell you that the word nice mean in law? What do nice mean? Dumb, stupid. Yes. So you as in EU, which means hillside, right? So she is the dumb hillside. The dumb hillside by the river, which then makes her a Hebrew, meaning those who what? Crossed over, or those who cross, or are crossed. Played a complex role in the unethical Tuskegee syphilis study, recruiting and maintaining African American men in the study by presenting it as a benevolent government program, leading to debates over her complicity versus being the victim herself. See how they flip it? Oh, she was a victim. She ain't had no gun on her head. She got paid and watched her own people die. But then something miraculous started happening. What they don't tell you and why they deaded the whole study was because the syphilis, after a certain generation, the people who was born with it was not passing it on. It was dying with the infected, meaning that the cells was breaking it down and getting rid of it. Why you think you're not born with syphilis now? You know how many of our people got infected was a part of this program? It wasn't just in the South. It was all over the country. How come you think you wasn't born with it? Because your melanin, your immortal Henrietta Lacks cells shut it down. Yes, shut it down. Didn't they say Henrietta Lacks had it? But she had no symptoms of it. She shut it down. Why? Because we got that Henrietta Lacks Albert Perry DNA in us. And we overcame it to the point they had to shut it down because it wasn't working anymore. Yeah, give it some time. With good living and cleaning out and clothes and all that type of real shit, you can get that shit out of you. We are the immortal people. Us. Nobody else. Nobody else. Because everybody is a derivative of us. Africa, that wasn't even a place where niggas were supposed to be at. Why you think they got some of them African tribes that'll suck the milk out the cows behind and shit like that? Drink the cow urine. Drink the goat blood. Drink all of that. We don't do none of that over here. We don't do none of that over here. We don't need to intake sub-animal DNA in us to make us better. You understand that? They gotta do that. They gotta inbreed. They gotta mix with the Caucasian and all of that. We don't gotta do none of that. Why you think they had to force us and then basically literally take control of our bodies to try to get them to live longer? So yeah, this devil, you can pause this and read all of this about her. I don't want to even look at this piece of shit anymore. Excuse me. Sorry, not sorry. Let's move on. But you get what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying by dealing with all this, right? Okay. Now we're going to get into how you and I were put into situations like this through the educational system, through how we were raised and how we were taught in school, and why you don't remember them taking you to NASA and shit like that when you was a child on field trips. Okay? Whether you knew it or not, if you grew up between the late 60s and the late 80s, you were a part of a CIA, Mossad, International Clandestine Services program. That program was referred to as the G.A.T.E program. And in the G.A.T.E program, you were the gifted and talented educational program. That was the cover story for it. The real name for it was the Gravitational Anomaly Technological uh, Technological Evolutionary Program. The Gravitational Anomaly Technological Evolution Program. Okay? And in that program, we all were given certain lessons and certain things to test how far our ancient psychic abilities were. You ever heard of a chick named Philippa Schuyler? You ever heard of this chick? Anybody ever heard of her? Anybody in Brooklyn went to Philippa Schuyler school? Because that was one of the GATE program schools, if you didn't know. Oh, y'all gonna love this. Oh, y'all gonna love this. Let's see them pseudo this shit, okay? Here we go. Well, if you didn't know, Philippa Schuyler was the daughter of an affluent Boule high priest and a Texas socialite magnate. Okay? Hold up. Okay, here we go. You can get a book on her called The Tragic Mulatto Girl. Look this book up. It's called The Tragic Mulatto Girl Wonder, The Paradoxical Life of Philippa Duke Schuyler. Okay? Philippa Schuyler's mother was Josephine Cogdell Schuyler, a white socialite artist and heiress who, with Philippa's father, George Schuyler, raised her as a social experiment to create an extraordinary biracial child through specific diets, rigorous training. Josephine managed Philippa's prodigious career as a pianist and composer, and later taking her own life after Philippa's tragic death in Vietnam. Background: a white Texas heiress and descendant of slave owners, which means what? She was a decoy. She was a white decoy bitch that was running everything on behalf of the black family, most likely George's family. And so he might have probably been related to her because the Cogdells and the Schuylers got together, okay? And they produced little Philippa right here. And as early as 4 years old, she was basically trained to be a prodigy because they were trying to create a form of eugenics that they were dealing with, in which they could produce a Wunderkind. How do you say it in German? A Wunderkind, right? Which means like a special, like super kid. But they needed the right genetics and DNA to do it. So little Philippa was like the Shirley Temple. That's what they referred to us. She was like the Shirley Temple, Black Shirley Temple of the day. And little Philippa, as early as she can remember, was being experimented on by her mother and her father, and was given over to the precursor to the GATE program. Okay? Let me find the thing. Where is it at? And so she was put through rigorous beatings, rigorous types of situations where she was disassociated from herself in her mind by her mother, because her mother was obsessed. Her mother, remember, was a devout racist, but married this dark-skinned so-called black man, allegedly, and had this baby. And this baby was used to basically put her on the map. When they talk about the pageant type of mother, helicopter mom, she was the blueprint for this. and she put little Philippa through it. And Philippa was raised to basically believe that she was the best. She spoke German, she spoke French, she spoke Arabic, she spoke something else too, Mandarin. She was next level. But she was plagued with headaches, and she was plagued with self-doubt and self-hate, to the point where she felt that she would never be as good as her mother. Here we go. Wait, here it is. They did this to this child on purpose to make her hate herself and to bring about the Wunderkind, right? Background: a white woman from Texas descended from slave owners. Parenting philosophy: believed in producing the superior child through specific diets, raw foods, vitamins, rigorous training, a concept tied to her husband's theories on race. See? Told you, decoy. The black man is doing this. The dirty Moor is doing this to his mulatto amalgamated child. Managed Philippa's burgeoning career as a pianist, composer, and kept detailed records on her progress for her husband, who was often away. Where was this nigga at? Yes, down with Project Monarch, down with... This is pre-MK Ultra. This is pre-MK Ultra. The GATE program came out the Phoenix program, came out the Phoenix Project. Yep. And she was put through it to the point where she would wake up. They said she would wake up screaming sometimes, screaming at the things that she had to deal with coming up in that society, coming up in this issue, because her mother and them was hell-bent on creating the ultimate Nazi child. And so Philippa became the blueprint for what they was trying to do to the rest of us in the GATE programs. She was literally the gateway for it. Okay? And then what happened was she was trying to marry. She couldn't have babies. She was messed up as a child. They forced her to have abortions. Like, they used to strain her urine. Her mother kept meticulous records on her. Every aspect of her life up to a certain point was under the microscope from these devils. And so they used her as that. And then once they used her up at the close of the Vietnam War, they conveniently killed her when she was over there trying to do some sort of USO shit. Because remember, the USO shit was run by Bob Hope, and Bob Hope was a deep handler in the mind control situation. And then after she died, she became the benchmark that little so-called black girls were supposed to be like. That's why every movie you see with a light-skinned chick today, they always with a white man. Whether it's Tessa Thompson, whether it's Tiana Taylor, whether it's Zoe Saldana, whether it's Halle Berry, whether it's all of them, because they all were brought up the same way. They were all gateways. These are facts, okay? This is what they did. This is what they probably still doing. So I told you the real name of it. The real name of the program is the Gravitational Anomaly Technological, I just forgot the last one. But this is what they running it. And she was the blueprint for this. They never tell you this in Black history though, do they? No. And then the GATE program was then set worldwide, but specifically 90% of the programs were run in so-called desegregated black schools. That's why they wanted integration. That's why they got the devil Michael King to push to get you to do that. That's why they bust you into their neighborhoods, but they never had white folks bust into your neighborhoods. You ever ask yourself why? Because all of this was a part of a greater program that initially started it, which was called the Phoenix Project. And the Phoenix Project had specific goals in mind. The Phoenix Project started where? In Vietnam. Look at this. Think I'm playing. Think I'm playing? Look at the symbolism. Symbolism will always be their downfall. Always. That's how they tell you what they doing without telling you what they doing. Because they know these dumb niggas, they got a bunch of dumb niggas out here that'll explain away everything that they really doing to you. But they not. Here you go. Hold up. Where's the other one? Here we go. So it started with G.A.T.E, started with the Phoenix program, and then the Phoenix program was collapsed into the Gateway program. Phoenix program, the CIA described a set of programs that sought to attack and destroy political infrastructure of the Viet Cong. The Phoenix program, often called Project Phoenix, was a CIA-led South Vietnamese intelligence operation during the Vietnam War aiming to destroy the Viet Cong's political structure through infiltration, capture, interrogation, and assassination. But it became infamous for the abuses of civilian deaths through the exact scale of the impact remains debated. See, method, including gathering, vulnerability analysis, right? That means that they would take subjects and then they would put them in situations to see how susceptible they were to things. Just like they gave you the syphilis to try to see how your body would react, how susceptible, how vulnerable you would be to the virus attack. The syphilis that what comes from dogs, right? And the mercury that they was putting into it, the same thing they put into the backs, right? The CIA role. The CIA provided training, resources, and oversight working with the South Vietnamese forces. See? Boom. I was enrolled in the gifted classes as a child. I now believe that it was CIA training program, which it was. And we were all a part of it. You just don't remember, but I'm going to tell you why. So part of the Phoenix program, or the Gateway experience, or the so-called GATE program, was about creating a unihemispheric access to the mind through traumatic experiences as well as aspects of sensory deprivation. This is from the manual. What does that say? The Gateway experience, brain hemisphere synchronization in perspective with introduction by the editor. You can Google this. It's declassified now. Okay? Yes, to create unihemispheric thinking while at the same time fracturing the consciousness so that way they can implant entities that can live in you forever. So once they realized they could do that, they needed to find a way to franchise it. And so once they franchised it, they decided that they would use the Department of Education as a means to establish the parameters of how far they could go. And understanding that the age of Aquarius was on the way, that they needed a way to circumvent the traditional manners of education so that way they could get the best result. But the way to do that would be to not tell the people. And because the people by this time were all listed as property, human capital, they were able to do that because they had jurisdiction over them due to the birth certificates and everything else. Okay? See, the cognitive ability, which is then identified and not identified. We need more information. So then we find the gifted traits. Maybe this one can draw. Maybe this one can remember. Maybe this one can disassociate, right? And so this is what they did. This became the gate. Look at the colors. Look at the colors, right? This is how they work. This is how they worked it, I should say. And we all would do that. Remember when you go to school and then you had test day and you had to use a certain number 2 pencil? Remember that? A specific lead pencil? It had to be a number 2 pencil, right? They wouldn't let you use a number 3, wouldn't let you use a number 1. They had to use a number 2, right? Right. Remember after the tests were always in certain booklets. Did you ever have the test where you had to go? Oh yeah. I found another thing on Philip. I'll get to that in a minute. Remember when you as a little kid, when you used to be in school, they used to make you make book covers for your book, where they would give you like cardboard paper or a little paper, and you'd have to make a cover for your book. You ever had to do that? Had to get your notebook, remember? Had to cover it up, right? So that way everybody book be the same. Why did they do that? That's called the blind field test. So that way they could just look at the book, right? Research it, and then not know which child it was. So that way when they gave you the next test, they would then circumvent that. Then remember, sometimes you would have to be called to the principal's office. But then you would go to the principal's office, it would be just you and them. Or the guidance counselor, remember that? Do you remember every time you was called to the principal office? Do you remember the questions that they asked you in the principal's office or the guidance counselor? You don't, do you? Yeah. Remember those kids that used to be in the short bus? We used to call them, we used to think that they were stupid. They used to make fun of them. Aha, you in the short bus, you stupid, right? What was those people called? What was those children called? Wasn't that called special education? What do special mean? Special don't mean stupid, do it? Special mean that there's something about you that's different than everybody else, right? So why is it that we thought that the special kids were stupid? Why? Because they was in a shorter bus. We was in a longer bus, right? But those of us that wasn't in the special ed classes, we couldn't go in those classes. Did you? What was the purpose of the gate? Look, focus, remote viewing, psychic spying, gifted individuals for intelligence gathering. Connection. The gateway process was seen as a system to enhance the abilities needed for Stargate type activities, because they couldn't access the star forts that we was in. That's why all of those schools, remember those big schools we was in? Wasn't most of them in Tartarian buildings? Remember that? Yeah, this is what Stranger Things was about. But we lived it. It was all over the world, but specifically the original melanated Moorish American children in America. This is a memo from one of the head commanders in the Phoenix program. You talk to me, you task me to provide an assessment of the gateway experience in terms of its mechanics and ultimate practicality. As I set out to fulfill the tasking, it soon became clear that in order to access the validity and the practicality of the process, I needed to do enough supporting research and analysis to fully understand how and why the process works. Frankly, sir, that proved to be an extremely involved and difficult business, initially based on the conversations with a physician who took the gateway training with me. I had resources and biomedical models developed by Ishtak Santov, a Nazi, to obtain information concerning the physical diagnostics of the process. Then I found it necessary to delve into the various sources of information concerning the quantum mechanics in order to be able to describe the nature and functioning of human consciousness. G.A.T.E, the educational program, uses assessments like the OLSATs. Remember the SAT test you had to take? Remember how important it was for you to pass them? Yes, many of us went to the schools, especially the private schools and shit that had the basements. Remember, we would go into the basement to eat. The SATs, the LSATs, right? Remember that? Yes. Yes, it happened to you. Look what they did to Philippa. Philippa had a number of affairs, but she never married. In 1965, she endured a dangerous late-term abortion. Remember, abortion was illegal back then. Why did she have the abortion? Because they needed to take the fetal plasma so they could do the knowledge to it to figure out what the quantum filaments in was it. In where? Tijuana. After an affair with a Togolese foreign minister at the time. George, whose name is the same name as her father, Georges Apito Ama, because she did not want to have a child with a black man. So then why you had sex with her? Because they needed the DNA. Remember, her father was black. Her father's name was George. So this basically was probably her father's brother. Skylar wanted to marry an Aryan man to boost her career and produce offspring she deemed ideal. Why? Because her mother programmed her. Skylar and her father were members of what? The John Birch Society. Look up the John Birch Society. Talk about white supremacist racists. So if that's the case, and the John Birch Society was all about producing Nazi-based, German-based ideology, Aryan-based people, how come this black man was a part of it? You see the scam they be running on you? Yes, they used to send them pregnant women to Mexico for the abortions. That's right. The same Mexico that was now under the Mestizo Revolution pipeline, right? That was all connected to CIA. This is why you never had no male teachers. All your teachers was black women or white women. The male teachers were usually the principals, the people you had to see. Yakub's doctors and nurses. This happened to all of us. Why you think a lot of us dropped out? Look, you had G.A.T.E workbooks. Remember the scholastic books? Remember the scholastic books? Remember the easy readers? Right? You know who printed them books? McGraw-Hill. You know who owned McGraw-Hill? Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell father. Israeli Mossad. Texas Instruments. So I hope you see the scope of what I'm trying to explain to you. That none of the stuff that went to you, that you went to school for, was random. It was all calculated. Remember these? Remember this? Remember this? The worst thing you could do with them tests is pass, because then you went to another level in the ritual. They were trying to find a way to get around the fact that they lost control of the war. This Phoenix project was also connected to another project referred to as Project Looking Glass. What was Project Looking Glass? Where's this shit at? Where's it at? Yes. Yes. We was all 11 in Stranger Things, bro. They were trying to find a way around their ultimate defeat, because every timeline that they manifested or tried to manifest when they was using the Vatican chronovisor, all of that shit showed that they lost. So they needed us to find a alternate timeline, an alternate reality through our mind's eye, that they could supplant and use our organic energy to literally use us as a gateway to portal themselves into the timeline where they actually won. They had organometers. Look up what organometers are. Our classrooms were filled with them. Project Looking Glass refers to several distinct concepts, most notably a supposed secret U.S. military program for viewing future timelines. A real Sun Microsystem software program, or OS virtualization, a military continuity of government, meaning once they are done, they are done. So they had to create what they call COG programs, continuity of government, meaning that once we rise up and they are destroyed, that they could create they could continue their government going, which is illegal, because the government is created by the people. So if the people say the government should no longer exist, it does not have the right to exist on its own. So they had to create and use us to create alternative timelines in which that would happen. And then these experiences were put into entertainment and were given to people like Stephen King, who made the movie Firestarter, or what you call it. So that way we would see it as entertainment and entertain the impossibility of it happening. And then based on our gate program training, it could then manifest in reality. Mind creates matter. Yes, the days of future past in the X-Men. Yes, that's what the memory cards were for, because the more you got it right, the more you were able to predict where the squiggly line was, as opposed to the circle, as opposed to the triangle, as opposed to the square. Each one of those are platonic solids. A platonic solid is the basis of the building blocks of reality that manifests through the plasma. Look. Secret time viewing. Alleged top secret U.S. military intelligence program using advanced tech like argon. See? Argon and quartz. Time. Why you think all watches are made of quartz crystal? Because quartz crystal has the highest energetic compound to be able to hold energy and transmute it. The Sun's Project Looking Glass, an open source software project for Sun Microsystems, which was a parent company to Texas Instruments. The books that we were given. Every aspect of the reality after the fall has been manipulated by these people, and they're manipulating us as children to help the reality continue. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why I'm telling you, none of this shit works without us. Why you think the ICE niggas and shit, why you think the people want us to work with them, to help them fight ICE? Because they know they can't do it without us. No one is as free as us. What does it say? The purpose: to help 16 to 20-year-olds who left high school earn a diploma through the G.E.D. Because a lot of us rebelled against the program subconsciously. So they had to find a way to bring us back into the program, which is why they beat our mothers and fathers in the head with sending us to school and getting a high school diploma and become a college graduate. Because all of it was mind control. All of it was getting us to continue to perpetuate the fictitious reality that is already gone. Now you're probably saying to yourself, well, if that's the case, how come I don't remember a lot of it? Well, I'll show you. Because they gave you this. They gave you this. Mouth rinse, sodium fluoride, mouth rinse. It was a mind control. It was a mind wiping agent that was given to you in milligrams and given to you. It was also put in your milk, the milk cartons that they gave us, the orange juice cartons that they gave us. Remember? No, you don't. You don't remember. That's the point. And then when that didn't work, they gave you these. Hold up. When that didn't work, they gave you these. They gave you these. Yes, it's in the water fountains. That's right. Why you think they created the segregation with the water fountains? White only, black only. Because the black water fountains had this in it. That's why the smart ones were the ones that had their own water and never drank from the goddamn fountain. Because they was putting us in the trick bag. And then after the program had run its course, what do we start to see as a phenomenon rise in the world? Autism, ADHD, right? All that shit started popping up. Right? That shit didn't exist. Autism didn't exist when when your grandmother was a child. None of that shit existed. But after the G.A.T.E program, it did. And what did they say about the autistic kids? They were the highest in understanding, right? They had all these special powers and shit, right? Remember? But no, you don't remember because they hit you with the ooh-op. They gave you the pink drink. And then all of a sudden, you start getting all of this shit, all of the stuff, right? That's when you started, after the 60s, you started getting the rise of all the social workers, remember? What you think they was social working? What you think they was working? Huh? Yes, the Zenzer cards. They were, I just showed you, they were there to access your psychic ability. If you could predict which card was which, that allowed you to go further into the program. And the further into the program you got, that's when they started giving you the thing. Remember when you would go to music appreciation class and they would give you these things? They would give you this, or they would send you into the library section and you would put this thing on and then you would listen and they would ask you what if you hear the tones, remember? And you have to put your finger up, remember? Yes, all of the gifted, because we were seen as gifts to Satan. You understand? We were the gift offered up to the devil so he could find a way into heaven through our subconscious, through the ritual program. Then sometimes we would come from homes that were specifically broken, where we would be treated real good up until a certain point, and then we would turn 16 or 15, and then our parents would flip. It was like they was totally different people because they had been paid off to do this, to help do this and conceal this to us. That's why you the black sheep of the family. That's why, because you was the one who was actually in the program, and these niggas was banking on them using you for a greater purpose. And when you rebelled against it, you messed up their money. You messed up the money that they agreed to get. And then some of us, after that happened, there was punishment that came from that. We would get ostracized. We would get abused. We would be molested. Or worse, one of our parents would just mysteriously die from some situation. Nobody know what happened. Now the family fractured. Nobody's talking in the family. Why? Because the family was down with it. This is why you don't remember, because they wiped your memory. And then they make TV shows like Stranger Things and shit to make you subconsciously trigger remember. Because you repressed it. Remember they used to take you on field trips? Well, guess what? Some of them field trips where you went to the park or you went to the zoo, some shit like that, you didn't go to the zoo. You didn't go to the park. You know where they took you? They took you to NASA. Them overnight field trips some of y'all went on, they wasn't where you thought. They implanted a false memory into you. This is standard operating procedure. Yeah. Or maybe remember them trips to the museum? Right? They took, remember, those of us in Brooklyn. How many of us went to the Brooklyn Children Museum? I went there. Remember they had the long little, when you walk in, they had the water that was flowing right to the front of it. And then the more you went in there, they had all of the little tubes with different colored tubes where you could like go in and all that. Anybody was in Brooklyn know what I'm talking about. Yeah, but you don't remember all the shit you did while you was there, do you? See? An amazing PVUSD 5th grade GATE field trip to NASA and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Getting to see the engineers work on the Europa Clipper 2 weeks before it departs for testing. And certainly a fortunate scheduling, right? Yes. Yes, y'all. This shit happened to you. Yes. This is the shit we was dealing with, bro. That's why the Freemasons in your family was the ones that was helping the shit go down, that was working it with them. There was also LSD in that shit. Timothy Leary. Remember, this is post 1960. Why you think a lot of us got into mushrooms and drugs and shit when we got older? Why you think that happened? You think you was just predisposed to it? No, because they was lacing your water with fluoride and LSD when you was a child. Here go the report. 1963, ostensibly for giving LSD to an undergraduate, but basically because of increasing controversy of the nature of their research, Leary and Company retreated to where? Mexico, where they attempted to carry on LSD experiments outside of the U.S. government's purview. In June 1963, they ran afoul even notoriously corrupt Mexican government and were expelled from that country for engaging in activities not permitted to a tourist. Look, LSD warfare, all of this, small hats, Nazis, all to access gateways in the mind so they could start to bring these non-physical entities into reality through you. Then you say, oh, well, I don't remember doing that. I ain't never drink that. Yes, you did. You drank this, right? Remember these as a kid? Remember everybody was drinking these? Everybody drank quarter waters, right? Why you think why you think they were made in the form of barrels? Because the barrels are how they transported the adrenochrome. Remember they used to show us cartoons with niggas going over Niagara Falls in barrels? Remember that? Remember those? Remember those cartoons when they showed us that? Remember? That was symbolic. That was us going over the falls. Look, you think I'm playing? Look. What that look like? These the barrels they run the adrenochrome through. This is what they look like. It's always been about you, Moors. It's always been about harvesting our body's energy to give them more life. Look at the liquid. Look at the pink liquid. Look. Low cost sugary drink, right? Anybody got any questions? Anybody got any questions? I would. Go back. Go back and think about it. Go and think about your childhood. Think about the things that you experienced when you was in school. Think about these things, bro. And you will find you have huge chunks of missing time, especially in the younger grades. And this is why. Because we were all a part of the experiment called the United States. You understand? This is a document. You can go on Google right now and get it. Read it. Because this is what happened to us. This is how they were able to break us down. Because they are trying to find a way out of their ultimate destruction. And the only way that they can do it is by using us as quantum filaments to create plasmatic structures that allows them to exist in a manner that they don't. By manipulating tachyons, which is the kinetic residual energy that we use naturally. Because tachyons move faster than light, but at a certain point, they go backwards in time. This is how they're able to do it. So every time you think about something that happened in the past, you are actually in the past. Do you understand? Every time you have a smell or a thing or that, this is how you're able to access it. So they have weaponized that and have been doing it from when we were children. That's why we had to have certain vaccines at a certain time. That's why the school structure had certain bells that we had to listen. Every time this bell went on, it was time to go to this class. Every class was timed down to the second. That's why your grades were important, but they weren't as important as you being able to function. That's why you're supposed to homeschool your child. Because this never stopped, I don't think. Yes. 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 Pavlov's dog. Yes. 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 They are manipulating the tachyons that we produce through our plasma. That's why they want, that's why they have blood drives for you to go and give your blood to them. Because they're filtering it. They're using it to power machines. They have created artificial holograms of all of us already. They've had the blueprint for them for years. And just like in the movie Us, they have them in controlled environments trying to get them to monitor us. That's why they had to create cell phones and all of these and TikToks and Facebook and all of this shit so that way they could create 3D models of us through these things. So that way when they can't control us or move us forward how they want, they can create the clone and have the clone think that it's us. So debunk this shit. I want to see somebody debunk this. I want to see somebody come up and say that none of this shit is real. And then we really gonna see who the agents are. Don't be like Philip or Skylar, man. Don't be one of these brain deads mix up. Because like I said, every one of these niggas in Hollywood is one of these kids, if not worse. A straight homunculus created from a clone, from a real kid that they done took and put in some dungeon somewhere so they can use its gifted ability to help them move forward and influence your consciousness to believe that it's a real thing. That's why the black woman is used to be the vehicle for this shit. Whether it's Eunice Rivers or Oprah or Beyonce or any of these devils. They're all devils. They're all down with it. All of them. Not one is not. Not one. You know why? Because they're there. Half of these bitches is men. But they have destroyed women so much that women can't even discern what a real woman is anymore. Ketanji Brown, Jackson. Anybody have any questions? Any questions dealing with this? See how dark it get, right? It get dark real quick. You start talking about the reality. You feel the heaviness of what I'm talking about, right? You feel it. You feel it. This is not a joke. This shit is real. This happened to us. The way forward, we won. We won. We the first generation to do this, to expose this like this. It's so real, they're going to say it's fake and let them do that because it's for the real people who know it's real. I'm saying that we are the basis of all reality, and it only moves forward based upon what we say it is, because collectively we are God. And as God, what happens to the least of us happens to the most of us. So they had to start us early through the mind control program. This shit started after the fall of Grenada. This been going on since the Grenada fell. That's why the Inquisition set up. The first Inquisition was that. Was this the Inquisition that started to get the Moors to basically break away from themselves and disassociate who they really are from what they really are. You understand? They've been doing this to us from the beginning. All of these things that I'm showing you right here. So now look at what it takes for you to be you. 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 grandparents, 16 second generation, 16 great grandparents, 32 great grandparents. This is us. These niggas ain't been alive that long. They don't have great grandparents because these niggas was made in a lab. I just showed and proved this to y'all. These dogs don't have no history. They don't have no history outside the lab, y'all. We are the only people alive. The rest of these niggas is NPCs. They don't exist. They're not real. They're fake. They're life model decoys. They're clones. They're masks. They're decoys. Let me show you. The original Men in Black was these niggas. Then in our generation, in our time, they look like these niggas. The Men in Black in the 1400s, 1600s, whatever, was these niggas on the left. The ones in our era is the feds today. Both of them spreading the plague. Both of them mind wiping people. Both of them is a secret society. Both of them is trying to manipulate time. Both of them is trying to create alternative portals and shit to get away from the ultimate destruction that awaits them sooner than later. So what I'm telling y'all is that we already won. We already won. Why would they need us to do any of this if we was going to lose? Get a book called Time and the Technosphere by Jose Arguelles. It explains to you how art is used to manipulate time and why time functions. The formula is time factored by energy equals art. That's why they have to use entertainment to move it forward once they have enough data on how we perceive things. So what I'm saying is that every perception that you have ever had has been manipulated. Yes, every nigga that they put in front of you has been a scam. The ones that haven't been were the ones that they got rid of and haven't been able to duplicate, like the Prophet. Nigga said, "Oh, well, what about that book, The Princess and the Prophet?" What? The book written by a Jew? Y'all taking a book written by a Jew talking about the Prophet? And you could basically look at the picture that they saying this William Brister person who probably didn't even exist. You could just look at this person and see that this nigga don't look like the Prophet at all. At all. Who is this Jew that made that wrote that book? Who is this nigga? Where did he come from? How come ain't no more wrote no book like that? Because it's a scam. It's a lie. It's a lie. But if you believe it, it's now true. Don't let these niggas block you out your blessing. Just like these niggas. All these niggas getting deported right now. All these white people. All these Jewish people right here is getting deported off their reservations by ICE. At what degree does water become ice? Moors. 32.5 degrees. That's right, 32 degrees. What's the highest degree in Freemasonry? Exactly. Keep listening to these goddamn liars. Listen to these liars. Next time somebody say anything about the Prophet, just block them. That's what I'm starting to do now. I just block niggas off top. As soon as I hear something I don't like from these jokers, from these niggas with no nationality, who don't believe in no God, who don't believe in no higher self, who only believe what another nigga tell them, I block these niggas. like the Flash. Like they never existed, because all these niggas is on the tape, bro. All of them on the tape. They've been saying the prophet been a Freemason for over 125 years, 145 years of however money it is. They ain't never pull out no picture, no nothing. Don't you find it interesting that you can hear voices of Malcolm X, voices of Malcolm X, and voices of Elijah Muhammad, voices of Marcus Garvey, but you ain't never heard the voice of your prophet? You ain't never hear the voice of Noble Drew Ali, but you heard everybody else around him. You done heard Woodrow Wilson voice. You done heard all these other niggas' voice, but never him. So what, there wasn't no radios around this nigga when he was around? Think about that. Think about that, Moors. The prophet said, if only I could get you to think, Moors. He also said, the one thing that surprised me is when I see a Moor do right. I could give a damn what any of these fake Moors say, any of these devils, any of these Hebrews, Aboriginal, whatever these niggas say, bro. Because in the end, none of them gonna be here when the great getting up morning come. Because all these niggas have invested into this world. All of them have invested into slandering each other and talking shit about each other and trying to just make themselves look more haughty than the next nigga. They know more than the next nigga and all of that. More, I have information in which I have pieced it out, where I have literally planned out, I'm gonna not talk about this until like 2028, 2029, 2030, because I know how these niggas are. You understand? That's how far ahead in the game I'm going. Nah, yeah, some of the shit y'all, they can't even handle. they can't even deal with it. Because they think that the internet is this. Look, if the YouTube was gone tomorrow, we have put out enough relevant information to feed generations just through orally, just by orally going over what we have discussed in these classes. This is the first time I done opened them up, where I done actually say, okay, I'm going to advertise on YouTube. Anybody, my subscribers that want to come in and do that. This is the first time I ever did that. And I'm humbled by how many people have actually, Oliata actually came through, man. Because it's not about the fame. It's not about the cult of personality. It's about us breaking through to the other side, where we are. Because we have already won. We done already beat these niggas, and they know it. So they are trying to find ways to get us to slow our vibration down, so that way we'll accept the jab and we'll accept anything that they give to us. But how can they do that now? How can any Mexican, Spanish, any of these niggas say anything to you about your nationality, who you are right now, on what you know? Now, whenever they say, oh, I'm not black, good. You know what, Dominican? You're not. You're not. You're Canarios. You're Canarios, Americanos, Canis, Pero. That's what y'all niggas are. That's what you niggas are. We not. We're the only real humans on Earth at this point. So whatever them niggas do, you want to nuke the planet? Do it, nigga. Do it. You want to invade the country? Do it, nigga. Do it. Do it. I dare you. Because whatever is inside of us that these niggas are scared that it's going to come online to do it, that none of the syphilis, the AIDS, the crack, the domestic violence, the abortions, whatever it is, none of that shit has worked. We are still here and thriving while y'all niggas is collapsing. He said, I will make your enemies your footstools. I will turn their swords into plowshares. The same Bible y'all niggas is talking about ain't this, ain't that great. Well, you know what? The prophet said, hold on to it. Because that's what you're going to use to reestablish these so-called covenants and put the rest of these niggas in the trick bag. Yep. without having to be no Christian, without having to be no Muslim, without having to be no Hebrew, none of that fake shit. It's all fake. Jesus ain't never start no, Yeshua ain't never start no religion. God ain't never start no religion. God ain't write no Bible. God ain't in the Vatican. God is the generator, operator, destroyer. That's who we are. That's who you got to see. That's who you are. You know what they see when they see you, Moors? Let me show you. Let me show you this. Just whenever niggas is coming at you or whatever, think about this image. Think about this image and watch what happened. These niggas don't have no power to do nothing. To do nothing. They all fake. When Prophet left, the temple became the home and the family. That's where the temple at. That's where the real temples was at. Not in no buildings. Read the FBI reports. How is it when this traitor Kirkman took over, right? How was it when he took over? The FBI asking this nigga, well, when you took over, where was the 38,000 people who was in the movement prior to you? He said he don't know. How you the leader of the organization, the whole national organization, you don't know where 38,000 people went in a day? Because the prophet told them was, once I'm gone, you are the temple now. The same way Yeshua said, the temple of the kingdom is within you. Not no goddamn brick and mortar, not no goddamn group of people getting together singing songs. And again, I'm not trying to hate on people doing that. I'm just saying, don't put all your faith in that which is seen, because that is not where it is. It's the people that make the temple what it is. But if that building was gone today, what would you do? How could you carry on service? Do you know how to properly open and close the temple? Without some grand sheik, without some imam, without some priest, without some rabbi or some Freemason posing as who he is, telling you what to damn do. So we're gonna close it out. Yeah, I know. We're gonna close it out. I need you to help me with the laundry. This is what you see, Moors. This is what they see when they see you. This is a version of Mishar, one of the old Phoenician so-called gods of justice. So don't forget, man. It don't exist without you. And don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. So again, I give thanks to everybody that came through. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for everything. And if you can, definitely support. Go to www.aseerthedukeoftears.com. Go to aseerthedukeoftears.com. Also go to cordobaorganics.com if you haven't already. Here's the links if you haven't seen it. I'm just saying I diverted my whole evening. I had at least 20 minutes. I heard you, man. Okay. You don't have to be that pinky. Islam. Anybody else? Yeah, if you need anything else, hit me up at houseofl@hotmail.com. All right? Peace.